Welcome to the Everyone to Critic Movie Review Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, ihatecritics.com, Everyone to Critic Podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Subscribe to the show at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, wherever you listen to your podcasts, YouTube. Click on the bell in the right-hand corner to get notifications, as well as to subscribe to the page. And patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to help support the podcast. And if you want a mask or any other piece of merch, head over to ihatecritics.net or .com, and up in the right-hand corner, you'll see a TeePublic merch page where you can get a mask or a shirt or whatever else with logos that we've designed or Cousin Jeff has designed.
The Willem Dafoe mask guarantees social distancing. No one will want to be near you.
As soon as I have a little extra money, I'm definitely getting that mask. We don't get a discount even, so we're just like you. But yeah, that's all the plugs. We'll start with a little news. Carl Reiner, 99, passed away.
Yeah. Lived a very good life, that man.
Yeah, I guess the last 20 or 30 to him and Mel Brooks just hung out every day. That's, you hear them on podcasts talking about it. It's pretty, I don't know, it just sounds like a pretty good life.
Yeah, absolutely. And just an absolute icon, just funny all throughout his life, all the time. I didn't realize he even had directed The Jerk. Like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I wish I'd known.
I did not know that. That is cool.
Yeah, that's like, that movie is stupid but absolutely hilarious. Like, there's more jokes per minute in that movie than most other movies, and he was responsible for that. But it's so many amazing things. I mean, he brought even just a little bit of something extra to the Ocean's movies just by being in them. His inclusion there is one of the more inspired choices that Soderbergh made in that film franchise.
Yeah. Gone way too soon. No, but it is. It does sound like. I mean, he clearly lived a great life, and he's a hilarious person, and it's worth mentioning on the show before we get started.
And he would have laughed at that joke.
He probably would have made it if Mel Brooks died. All right, let's move on to the show. Let's start with Hamilton.
Hamilton. This is the filmed stage play on Disney Plus of the multiple-time Tony Award-winning musical from Lin-Manuel Miranda about the life of Alexander Hamilton, and done through the magic of sort of a hip-hop Broadway spectacle. And this is one of the most amazing experiences I've had watching anything. I adore this. I've always been jealous, like, of people who get to see Broadway and talk about Broadway. And I always hated those people because, like, we don't get to have that experience here. We don't get to have that firsthand experience that they're having. It's priced out of our range. Even if we were there, we couldn't get in. And so I've always hated that sort of I've always associated Broadway with this sort of elitist notion of greatness, and they assume their own greatness because they're Broadway in New York and all this stuff. And that left a lot for this to overcome with me, because I went into it with like this kind of attitude, like, it can't be as good as they say it is. It won't be as good. It was more than that. It was so much better than that. It took maybe 2 or 3 minutes for me to recognize how incredible this is and how timely and gorgeous this is. It's just an amazing experience. The music here is so alive and exciting, and just filled with commentary, and it just endlessly moving. Just a few of the highlights, like Jonathan Groff plays the king, who's not necessarily the direct villain of the piece. That he's this villainous presence. He has this amazing song, the first song that he does, and I can't help but think when I hear this. There's this line in the song where he says, "I'll send a heavily armed battalion to remind you of my love." So I just could not help but think of Trump. Like, this is how I think of Trump and like armed police departments going after protesters. That just like, oh wow, and it just kind of overwhelmed me, that thought. The character became slightly less funny to me as well, and I kind of appreciate that, especially on the second viewing. I've kind of felt that way, but I kept seeing like these parallels to today, even though this was created 13 years ago, if you go back to the mixtape, but 5 years ago on Broadway when it's premiered, and yet it feels so of the moment. It's capturing, and granted, that could just be from a generalization point of view, because it is a relatively general point about the desire for revolution, the desire for change, the desire to rebel against the things that are holding you back, which are very universal themes that could be transported and dropped into any time period. But still, that gives this film, that gives this thing a life beyond itself that is as powerful as anything else. But then there's just these wonderfully human characters, especially Hamilton and Burr are so relatable. I saw a comparison online of somebody was talking about how Burr was always upset that Hamilton was just right in front of him his whole life. Just every time he was doing something, Hamilton was ahead of him. And they made this comparison that was almost unconsciously like Amadeus, where it's like Burr was the Salieri to Hamilton's Amadeus. And I think that's a good comparison, but not perfect, because I think Burr is even more tragic than Salieri. It was never really that Hamilton was always ahead of him, is that Hamilton was willing to take the risk that Burr never was willing to take. And that, for me, is so much more human and so much more relatable. I relate to that so deeply that it scares me how much I relate to Burr and his frustration, and that the feeling that he has of like, well, I'll just bide my time and it'll be my time eventually, and I'll bide my time and it'll be my time eventually, and I'll play it safe and I'll not say anything. And he continues to do that. And every time he does that, Hamilton takes a bold step and does something big and succeeds. And the frustration, that growing anger that he has, that builds, and that Leslie Odom Jr. just invests in this character, is so powerful. It just really, when you think about the times that you didn't take a risk that maybe you should have, think about Aaron Burr and where he ends up in this story, as his frustration and anger, and his anger mostly at himself. If you get down to it, he's not even mad at Hamilton. When you really get to it, he's mad at himself, because Hamilton represents all the things that he wishes he had done, that he could have done, that he didn't do. That is beautiful. That is a beautiful tragedy.
Yeah, and everything just left my head. But no, I mean, that was the thing is, obviously he kills Hamilton at the end, and he's known as the villain. That's kind of they spent a lot of time talking about your legacy in this play, and what you'll be remembered for, and that's where he ends up being remembered for. Is the only bold step he made was to kill Hamilton, and I wouldn't even that bold, because Hamilton pointed his gun in the air. So there's always one bold move ahead of him. This was a ton of fun. On top, I mean, if you throw away all of that, which is there, it's still a fun, entertaining show to watch. I mean, the rap battles between Jefferson and Hamilton are amazing.
They are.
I love everything Jefferson. Every time he's on the screen, that guy, I don't know who it is. Pigs. Oh my God, he lit up the stage every time he was on it. He was amazing. The best thing about this, I thought, in terms of just acting and fun.
That introduction of him as Jefferson is just beautiful.
And then it was when he came back for Act 2. That was beautiful too. Act 2 from as soon as he gets on stage on Act 2 on, he just owns it, and it's just amazing. I don't know, I loved it. And
right after the moment, right after It's Quiet Uptown, Unimaginable, when he walks out on stage, and it's this perfect moment. Can we get back to politics, please?
Yeah. As
Madison is dabbing away tears. Oh, God damn it, that's perfect.
Yeah, everything he did was just the right time, right. I mean, they clearly, part of the rap battle is that he's a slave owner. And I don't know, I watched it twice as well. It's that much fun. I wanted to show my wife, and my son actually was more interested than she was. She never got off her phone, so she never knew what was going on. And even not knowing everything about the history, I knew all of it at one point, but a lot of it I knew from that Got Milk commercial. When remember that, where the guy's eating peanut butter and can't say Aaron Burr.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty easy to follow, even if you don't totally know every aspect of the history. A lot of it would come back, the Federalist Papers. It would come back, and you didn't have to understand word for word what they were saying. Still you were able to follow along with the story. You might have missed some of what you were talking about earlier, which makes this even more powerful. But just strictly on a face value, entertaining level, this succeeds. And then when you start peeling out the onions, the layers off the onion, it gets even better. So I was really, really impressed.
And it's intellectual, but it's also super emotional. That song about his son.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I got to collect myself just thinking about it, because the raw emotion that Lin-Manuel Miranda brings to that moment where his wife reaches for his hand.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, my favorite King speech or solo was the third one when Washington. I mean, at least that was the funniest. I guess it's not the best. But he was like,
Adams.
I know him.
This is going to be fun.
And that was the only time he doesn't get off stage. He just goes, sits on the side of the stage and watches.
That's the guy from Mindhunter on Netflix, which I was like, wow. Oh, yeah.
He does such a great job of looking creepy. Like when he does that scat thing he does, or the humming or whatever it is. He looks like a serial killer. It's amazing.
Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah, that's... He's just really, really awesome. And I mean, it's not even that big a role when you get down to it.
No, but it's important. It helps you move the story along.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't recommend this enough. I'm glad I saw it. And I came into this, Book of Mormon's my favorite play of all time. So I'm not liking that this dethroned it. So I was having, to get past some things as well, watching this. And,
I've very little experience with live theater. Very little. I think I told the story last week about Tom Wopat in Chicago.
Right.
I have very little experience with this type of musical. I've never been to Broadway, and like I said, I had all this emotional baggage going into it about the FOMO essentially of Broadway. I've had this fear of missing out, and it's always just kind of lingered as frustration until now. And I just can't say enough. I know Disney's this major soulless corporation, but thank you, Disney.
I do want to clarify. I did not see Book of Mormon on Broadway.
Oh yeah,
I don't have that kind of money either. I saw it in Peoria and then again in Davenport. So whatever fools were playing there, it was still fantastic. That said, I can't imagine this being played by anybody other than the actors in it. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to be wrong, but this just looks so complicated. And I don't know. I mean, rapping, being a rock guy, I don't dismiss it, but it's never been my favorite thing. But doing it in a play like this, that fast and not messing up, and with all the dance moves and the sliding on the floor and the running up the ladders and all the crap, there's so much room for fuck ups.
Yeah, it's so precise. Yeah. By the third time I watched it, of the 4 times I've watched it now, I was watching the choreography and watching, just the careful way somebody lays down a table or picks up a cup or walks off stage with somebody's coat. Just these tiny little details that if one of them is not in the right spot at the exact same moment, you can topple the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, at one point they literally pull a tablecloth off a table while the guy jumps. I was just like, that one night they had to have fucked that up. But But, they practice so hard and so long.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And I'm sure there is an elitism to Broadway, but I don't know that it goes to the actors and actresses. I think it might be more to the people that own it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. And a lot of it's just my, angry, jealous perception as well.
Right. Anything else on Hamilton before we move on to Lynyrd Skynyrd?
I'm probably going to watch it again today.
I don't blame you.
It's just so watchable. On top of being brilliant, it's incredibly watchable. And 2 hours and 42 minutes.
I know. Doesn't feel like that at all.
No, not a second.
Well, let's transition to unwatchable. Street Survivors.
The story of the Lynyrd Skynyrd Plane Crash, directed by Jared Cohn and starring a lot of people who I have absolutely no idea who they are.
I think they were in that Clint Eastwood movie where they saved the Paris or whatever. They may have been in that movie.
Yeah, the acting level's about there. Street Survivors purports to tell the story of the Lynyrd Skynyrd plane crash as described by Artimus Pyle, the drummer for Lynyrd Skynyrd. And it's not good. The acting is really wooden. The choice here, I think, initially I thought maybe the choice to have Artimus Pyle be in the movie and narrate portions of the movie was a choice to it was kind of just a daring artistic choice that he made, and not just simply a guy who's basically narrating a unsolved mysteries recreation, which is the level of acting we're getting.
Well, not to mention he's not in the band anymore, and he's a registered sex offender. So,
oh wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, doesn't really.
Jesus.
Now, he didn't get convicted of anything, and he denies it, but he did file, or he did plea. Oh my God, not guilty, but the other one, no contest. So he has to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life.
Lovely.
Yeah. So.
On top of that, I watched a bunch of stuff after the movie about the actual plane crash, and this, while some of it is true to his experience, it leaves out a lot about the fact that he wasn't alone when he left the plane to go find help. He was with two other guys.
Right.
And he wasn't shot in the arm that didn't happen.
He did claim it, though.
Yeah, that didn't happen, though.
No, I know. They were like, where's the gunshot wound? I don't know, but I was shot. Yeah, I don't. Fuck this movie. I don't know. The first 20 minutes, honest to God, the first 20 minutes is them partying. And then they break away for 5 minutes to be like, Aerosmith was supposed to be on this plane. That's not relevant to the story. I mean, it is true. It's a cool little fact, but none of all that partying, if this was a Lynyrd Skynyrd biopic, okay. But you're trying to just tell the plane crash story, and now you're just watching them. You're kind of making them not likable. They're like snorting drugs off women, and it's just, I don't know. It's not. It's like a watching Motley Crue, The Dirt, even though I'm sure it came out before this. It's been in legal hell forever.
Yeah.
But it's just unnecessary, and it doesn't help anything out for the first 20 minutes. There's nothing relevant that goes on, and then the plane crash happens. Or maybe it's even longer, because I was starting to go in and out of sleep at that point.
And the thing about that is that there seems to be this desire to kind of underline what a tragic loss it was. The lead singer was, like this kind of unknowable genius thing that they're going for, but they never really humanized him. What's his name?
Oh my God, I know his name. Van Zant, Ronnie Van Zant.
Ronnie Van Zant, thank you. They never really humanize him. He's never more than just the drunk on the plane and the asshole who tears up his friend's plane ticket because you're gonna stay on this plane with us no matter what, or what the fuck what his point was. They never really give us any kind of insight into what made him so great. And when you get down to it, I like Lynyrd Skynyrd's music, but I don't sense any type of genuine genius to it. They're a party band,
right? Yeah, I mean, And quite frankly, if I'm gonna go to a genius in the band, it's probably one of the two guitar players, because they have some pretty impressive solos. But even those are pretty repetitive. So I don't know. I like them okay, but the radio has definitely ruined a lot of their songs for me. But
song, there are no songs except for one, because that's the one that Lynyrd Skynyrd covered and made a hit.
Oh yeah, that was because you told me there were no Lynyrd Skynyrd songs, and then all of a sudden, right out of the gate, there's a song that they played. I'm like, for a second, I was like, oh, maybe they are. Maybe Sean just doesn't know their music that well. And then I'm like, wait, that's a cover song. And yeah, then there's no more after that. And then that's the weird thing is Artimus Pyle at the beginning of this goes, this is not about a plane crash. This is about the music. Now, maybe at the time it was, because at one point I think they had the music in it.
Yeah.
But Johnny Van Zant, Ronnie's little brother, and I think the other surviving member had sued the director and maybe even Artimus Pyle to get this movie stopped.
Good for them, too. I mean, this is basically just exploiting a tragedy, isn't it? I mean, we're going to show you what it was like on Lynyrd Skynyrd's plane. It's basically just exploiting the deaths of 6 people.
Not only that, but you're also, I mean, you're making them out to be drunk, party, drug addicts that, I mean, whether all that's true or not, I'm sure there's an element of it. But I don't know. You're just kind of tearing down their names. Like you said earlier about Ronnie Van Zant being this genius, they just make him look like a drunken buffoon who's a little, I mean, he's the leader clearly because he's ripping up plane tickets and he's refusing to, miss shows, even putting his life on the line to miss a show or to not miss a show. But
they don't show him in a very good light at all. He's not portrayed as any great loss to the world as he's portrayed here. Because he's not a very memorable person. He's not a guy that you're going to like very much, and you're not going to really learn anything about him.
No.
So, I mean, that kind of renders this whole thing rather mean-spirited on top of being exploitative.
Yeah, it's just not a good movie. Go ahead.
I do want to say that I thought elements of the plane crash and the immediate aftermath were kind of compelling. If we can buy for a moment that this is the way it actually happened, that is kind of compelling. How that the plane is crashing into the trees and they're falling all over themselves, and then the immediate aftermath of him trying to pull his friends out. That's kind of compelling.
Well, yeah,
in a recreation sort of way.
Right, but it's so much because of the fact that we know the story or we're aware of it, at least part of it. And the fact that it's real, I think, helps it be compelling or real-ish. So I don't even want to give the guy that much credit. I mean, it goes back to the exploitative thing. I mean, I'd be okay watching a Lynyrd Skynyrd biopic, but I want the whole story, not just this. I want a 4-hour-long, 2-part movie if you're going to do it. Really set up the characters, all they got. Because I don't know, there's more guys in Lynyrd Skynyrd than Slipknot. So I don't even know, I don't even know their names other than Ronnie Van Zant.
And the movie doesn't do anything to separate them at all. Like we should feel the loss of Steve and Cassie Gaines, and we don't, because they're basically faceless. They should be more important, but the director doesn't do anything to separate them from every other long-haired person in the movie. Because
he's too busy showing them partying for the first 20 minutes, and then Artimus Pyle getting chosen to join the band. They spent a little time there, but. This is just kind of, in a lot of ways, a piece of shit. Particularly interesting either. No, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that he's narrating it, so they got to focus on this guy, and he's a self-proclaimed hero. But he's also a registered sex offender, so everybody remember that. Yeah. Go ahead and skip Street Survivors. I feel,
don't let your curiosity get the better of you here, because there's no curiosity is not going to be enough to carry you through it. This movie's been on the shelf since 2017 because of the trial and the lawsuits involved, and the necessity to re-edit the movie to remove any reference to the music that wasn't previously existing. Like, you can get "Call Me the Breeze." Pretty much anybody can get "Call Me the Breeze."
Yeah,
it's not their song. They made it famous, but in the 70s, but it was not their song. It existed before them, and that made it available to them.
Yeah, Just go ahead and skip this one. You want to move on?
Yeah.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah, I love this. This is really great. Pink Floyd's The Wall is a musical movie, sort of. I don't really know how to describe it because it's not a musical per se, but it's certainly not a traditional narrative film. It's set entirely to the music of Pink Floyd with just little tiny snatches of dialogue here and there, and basically telling the story of the life of a man named Pink, played by Bob Geldof, who is who grows up without a father, a huge absence in his life, who was killed in World War II. This absence that he feels throughout his entire life of this father figure. He's got this overbearing mother who he loves but also can't get away from. Then he grows up to be a rock star and finds nothing but the soulless emptiness of being in the public spotlight. Eventually, he becomes and this could have been a dream sequence or something, but he becomes a dictator, not unlike Hitler, who is leading these masses with these rallies that are very much in a fascist mode. And then he's going to die eventually. But I really found this movie completely fascinating from beginning to end. The music is incredible, of course, but the imagery of this, the imagery that they capture here is just so striking. And the moments that they capture here are so striking. Alan Parker directed this and does an amazing job of just these little subtle moments of just complete silence on the part of Geldof as Pink, who just is very compelling, just sitting in a chair staring at a television and then blowing up and destroying a hotel room. And he communicates so well with his face and his body, and the camera does such a great job of communicating the turmoil and despair that he's feeling that I couldn't help but feel it. On top of course, you've got this music compelling you in that direction as well. Really amazing stuff. But it led me to this sort of weird line of thought, because I've been obsessed with this sort of a dictator character, regardless of whether it's a dream sequence or not. I was drawn to that idea, and it's kind of made me think about the ways in which we push rock stars to such a level that the reasonable, rational, logical conclusion of putting these people on this pedestal is asking them to run your life, asking them to tell you what the meaning of life is and to tell you how to live. And the pressure that would create to nearly drive him to despair and death. And then he comes back and says, you know what? You want me to run your life? You want me to be in charge? Fine, this is what it is. And now he's a fascist dictator telling everybody how to live. That to me is such a powerful thing, such a powerful communication of what it might be like to be a rock star. I can imagine very easily Kurt Cobain feeling that kind of despair, like this idea of the world is trying to create who he is for him, and he has no role in how people decide who he is and what he means. And trying to pull that back, trying to claw that back, he takes his own life. But what if he didn't? If he doesn't take his own life, then let's say he goes on to, like, okay, you want me to be the person in charge? You want me to tell you the meaning of life? Fine. And then he becomes this massive personality, this dictator who's telling everybody what life is, until the point, what the actual point is, he just wants them to destroy him. He wants to see how far he can push it, just to see if they'll finally do him the favor of destroying him. And that is so powerful to me. Yeah,
it is a dream sequence, but it is it's the way he feels as that person. And I used to do another podcast where I would talk to other artists, and the one question I'd ask every time is, do you miss the era of being put on a pedestal, the mystique that was created around these rock stars? Or like today, it's not as much like that. It's way more accessible. They have, you see what they're eating on Instagram. They're just like you and I. Everybody can meet them. So it's harder to get put on that pedestal. And for the most part, people like the mystique that leads into this direction. Now, not everybody is like this. Roger Waters is he's I don't know, kind of looks into it too hard, and probably Kurt Cobain did too. Then you got your Robert Plants and your Steven Tylers and David Lee Roths who were just fucking everybody. So there's two different ways to handle that situation. But Roger Waters really, I mean, I don't know. The whole thing, I don't know. Did you dig into how this was made at all?
Not much, but I watched a couple brief documentary clips, but I didn't really dig into much of it.
Alan Parker called it miserable. Bob Geldof hated Pink Floyd. He was a punk rock guy, and punk rock hated bands like Pink Floyd. He refused them a million times. In fact, one time he badmouthed Pink Floyd in a cab while Roger Waters' brother was actually happened to be the cab driver. And finally they somehow talked him into doing it. And then a lot of the things in the script that they had, he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And they wanted him to shave his head because Syd Barrett shaved his head back in the day. That was the original Pink Floyd singer. And I don't know. The whole thing is fascinating. In it, the idea there was supposed to be a concert film on top of that. Then Roger Waters and Alan Parker started having problems, and it was just kind of a nightmare. And it's amazing how well it still turned out. I mean, the visuals are just impressive, kind of just iconic. I mean, everybody knows that the look of the children on that train and for every brick in the wall or another brick in the wall.
Yeah,
the
walking hammers.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. You forget how good that record is, too. And they even leave "Hey You" out of it, which is one of the better songs off the record. But it was supposed to be a concert film, and then they refused to sacrifice the look of the show for the audience because they're known for their light show.
Yeah,
and they would have had to dial that back in order to properly film it. And then they'd have to shine bright lights into the crowd so they could film the crowd's reactions, which means they couldn't see shit. And they refused to do that, so they got rid of the concert aspect of it. But it's a neat movie. But I don't know. I'm more of a David Gilmour guy, though. He's way more relaxed and just kind of like, I just want to play guitar. I don't really care what you have to say. Stop being a dick to me. And he's no longer in the band. In fact, Roger Waters just released something this weekend complaining that he can't post stuff on the Pink Floyd website. So I don't know.
Growing up, I always my view of Pink Floyd was always homework. They seemed like the homework of band. Like if I try to listen to, and I think it's because I grew up in the era of the Division Bell. I think that led me to believe that I had to study what I was listening to, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And it's one of those things. We're going to talk about a movie in a moment that I've grown out of. This is something I've grown into is Pink Floyd, and kind of being more open minded to their style and kind of losing myself in what they do. It's part of my emotional growth, I think, and this is not for everybody, but for me. Just me personally. Well, not making a statement like you have to grow up to like Pink Floyd. Not saying that.
Well,
I'm saying that for me, it made me feel, more my own personal maturation process led me toward appreciating what Pink Floyd does.
No, I understand. My dad's 65 and he's just now getting into Pink Floyd, or he's at 65 now. I think he's like 67. He's getting into Pink Floyd now because he's finally discovered Spotify and Pandora or whatever the hell he listens to, and he puts it on the Emerson, Lake and Palmer channel, and eventually Pink Floyd pops up on there, and he's like, oh, they do this song. Oh, I kind of like this. It's funny you say homework. I actually got into Pink Floyd because of a class I took in college about prog rock, and that's when I started to really listen to Pink Floyd. But I'm kind of limited to that Roger Waters era. As much as he drives me nuts, those 4 records with, him, Gilmour, and Nick Mason and Wright, I think is the other guy's last name. Animals, Wish You Were Here, The Wall, and Dark Side. Those are the only 4 I really can go with. The rest are too much.
There's this brilliant YouTube channel called Polyphonic that I have to recommend. This guy's doing a series on. He's doing a video essay on each of the songs on Dark Side of the Moon, and it's really fascinating.
Yeah. So check that out. All right, so let's move on to Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Was it really called Die Harder? Or is that a made-up thing?
It was on the box my brother had. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the official title. Maybe it was just I'm pretty sure it was Die Harder.
Very well could be. I have no idea. I'm asking a legitimate question. I have no memory of it. Because I've always called it Die Hard 2, I think. Die Hard 2 is... I don't like it anymore. I just don't. I thought I did when I started watching it. I thought I liked it. And then I found myself in the first 5 minutes, I had to pause the movie and write about what I'd seen that far in, which is not much. But I mean, the movie begins with this exposition dump that is just one of the worst and most awkward exposition dumps I've ever seen in a movie. And I never noticed it before, but I noticed it this time really, really hard because they dumped the entire story on you in about a 5 or 6 minute period through these series of scenes that are just awkward. You've got John McClane being a complete dick, parking in a no parking zone, trying to pull the "don't you know who I am" card when he pulls out his badge and asking the cop not to give him a ticket or tow his car. So immediately John McClane's gone from, the everyman you love to a complete asshole. Not a complete asshole, but just kind of a prick. And great start. But then it cuts to William Sadler in his hotel room naked doing Tai Chi. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why am I looking at this man doing naked Tai Chi? Not that I have a problem with him. You do your naked Tai Chi. I just don't know why it's in this movie. He's watching a television report about the other main bad guy in the movie, Esperanza, played by Franco Nero, and he's doing naked Tai Chi. And then for reasons that go beyond explanation, he picks out his clothes, and then he does this little twisting thing to pick up the remote and turn off the TV like he's firing a gun. Like suddenly he's gone from weirdo naked Tai Chi to being a playful, cute guy. But he's also the bad guy. And he's William Sadler, so he has no personality. And I'm like, what is happening in this fucking movie? And then we settle into the actual, the meat of this thing, and I kept waiting for John McClane to show up. I kept waiting for Willis to kind of pick up the pace and the energy again that he has in the first movie, and it never happens. He seems almost secondary to everybody around him. He seems bored. He seems lazy. And just going through the motions as if having this happen to him a second time in his life is something that he kind of expected. Which is just, I got to do this again? All right, give me a gun. Okay, punch that guy. Okay, I'll punch him. There's no fun here. I didn't have any fun. And I kept thinking about all the things I didn't need to think about, like Vito the cop. I spent time just pondering Vito the cop at the front of the movie. Why he comes back at the end, who knows? What change did that make to the story that he's Lorenzo's brother? Nothing. Why was he there? There's only one character in the movie who has an arc. John McClane doesn't have an arc. He's the same person at the beginning and the same person at the end. He's just gone through the same thing he's been through before. The one person who has an arc, completely unnecessarily, is the news reporter lady, Sam Coleman. She at the start of the story, she's this ambitious, bloodthirsty reporter that everybody hates, and she's out there just going to do anything she can to get the story. And then by the end, when she gets the big ending to her story with John reuniting with Holly on the ground after the plane comes down, she turns the camera away, and it's the only human moment she's had in the entire movie. And that's essentially the only character who has an arc in the entirety of Die Hard 2. And I know that this isn't supposed to be a movie that has any kind of specialty in filmmaking or storytelling. It's a spectacle. I understand that. But I don't think the spectacle is good enough to distract me from the things I hate about it.
Yeah, I've always hated this movie. However, I kind of enjoyed it this time. I don't know why. I watched it on my phone at work, so maybe I wasn't having to focus on anything. And I was just watching John McClane do stuff on a plane or in and around a plane. But, I mean, it never was more than just a throwaway action movie. I never got why Die Hard was on like the top of the pedestal of action movies. I always liked it, but I kind of, because I was always more of a Leave the Weapon guy, I always kind of, it was kind of like when we went into Hamilton, kind of being like Book of Mormon's my play. I don't need this Hamilton shit. It's kind of like that. I don't get why Die Hard's universally more loved than Leave the Weapon, other than that people don't like Mel Gibson, although I don't really like Bruce Willis either anymore. But this was just more mindless fun, and while I'm trying to do mindful work, having to not have to pay attention to it,
yeah,
it made it easier to watch. But I think that's probably what it was, because now listening to you explain everything, it's like, yeah, I definitely wasn't watching that part of it. Right? This was just, I'm like, oh, there's the guy from this Dennis Franz. You had Carl Winslow in the first one, and you got, I don't even know his character from NYPD Blue in the second one. Sipowicz, that's right. So it's just like all these guys go on to TV after these movies and become cops on TV.
And Franz, I mean, you could kind of try to say that he has an arc because he starts to like McClane at the end, but that's not an arc.
Not even an arc. It's a flat line, or it's not an arc really, because
the only reason this character exists is to do everything that Paul Gleason did in the first movie.
Right.
That's all he's there for. Remember how much we hated that guy and how funny it was to hate that guy in the first movie? Well, here's this guy. Hate him the same way.
And it's not as funny when he does it. It's more real, and it's just like, this guy
was so much better at it than Franz. So much better at it because he knew how smarmy and what an asshole his character was, and he leaned into it.
Yeah, it just, at some point, someone would have made Franz leave the room and never come back. Go home for the day. That's what would have happened in real life. Of course, McClane wouldn't have ended up doing anything he did either in real life, so I guess I can't really use the real life excuse.
I think the biggest problem may be Reddy Harlan. I think he's a shitty director. I really do. I think he's a bad director. And I don't think he cares really all that much about being a director. I think he likes being a stylist. I think he likes creating, stylish things. Like the Tai Chi scene, I mean, it's stylish, I guess. He's got, William Sadler's a beautiful naked man. I can't deny that. And you've got to get that exposition in there, I guess, if because you're not talented enough to write that in there, apparently. You've got to get it in somehow. You can't just have him sitting there watching TV. Give him a bit of business to do. Naked Tai Chi. Okay. That's more interesting than just him watching TV. So that's why that scene exists. That's bad, though. It's bad because you're not even taking the time to go, do we really want to just deliver all of our exposition this way?
Stylishly. But nothing else. Style over substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, Die Hard 2, better for me, worse for people who grow up. Maybe if I had paid, but again, I never liked it because I don't know. I just always had held something against the Die Hard movies. In fact, Die Hard with a Vengeance is always the one I liked the most because I like that interaction between the two guys.
I used to like this one a lot, and I still love the original Die Hard. I still think that the construction of the original Die Hard is strong enough that even any holes you can try and poke it in, it's strong enough because Willis is so captivating in that film, and he's energetic and he's alive and fully in the moment, and you recognize him and relate to him on a human level, and watching him be ingenious, you can kind of feel yourself in there a little bit. Like, I'm not nearly as smart as him in terms of what he's able to do or is physically adept, but I feel like it's a natural sort of thing that he's just developed over time as a person. He's developed the mental acuity to come up with these ideas. And I think we all hope we could be like that in a difficult moment where we can develop from our own personality, our own history, our own intelligence, some way to get out of a difficult situation. So he becomes relatable in that way. Here, that just doesn't exist at all.
Yeah. But do you watch the Jetsons movie?
No, I don't.
All right, then we're not going to even talk about the Jetsons movie.
Say that with as much derision as possible.
Yeah. Next week, We got The Old Guard starring Charlize Theron on Netflix. We don't have a classic yet, but The New Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Quick Change, and Ghost all turned 30. So I believe Josh may join us again. So look forward to that. Anything else before we go to Flick Chart?
No, nothing really.
Just a quick one. Zootopia, Air Force One.
Zootopia.
I agree.
All Air Force One is just Harrison Ford going, "Get off my plane!"
Not much more than Die Hard 2. From Beyond, 1986. You familiar with that one?
Yeah.
What?
No, I'm not familiar with that at all.
All right, Psycho, 1998. Double Jeopardy, 1999.
Double Jeopardy. I think that there was no reason to make that Psycho.
Just to say you did it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Somehow it just doesn't work.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, 1985. Crash, 2004. The Academy Award winner.
That'd be easy. Pee-wee all the way.
Screamers, 1995. The X-Files, 1998.
I don't think I remember Screamers.
I don't either. A Civil Action, The X-Files, both 1998.
X-Files. Civil Action is dull.
I remember having to read that book for, I don't know if I, obviously wouldn't be forced to read it in class, but I think I had to do a book report on something, and I picked that because of the movie, and it was dull.
Okay.
28 Days Later, Arachnophobia.
28 Days Later.
Agreed.
Arachnophobia is coming up.
Yep. Dune, Shallow Hal.
Wow, it's been a while since I've seen Dune, and it doesn't have a great reputation. I think because I don't remember it very well. I'm going to go with Shallow Hal.
I am too. I tried to watch Dune when I went through a David Lynch phase, and I didn't get what he was going for.
Well, we'll get it back around to it once the new Dune comes out.
Yeah. The Bourne Ultimatum, Basic Instinct.
Bourne Ultimatum.
Agreed. Elizabethtown, The Passion of the Christ.
Elizabethtown.
Yes. Rat Race.
About a lifelong journey with Elizabethtown. A friend of mine who I was in love with years ago, she adored that movie. And so I hated it initially. I was like, this is the worst Cameron Crowe movie ever. But then I watched it with her, and then I watched it again after our relationship and several times afterwards, and I got it. It finally hit me. And now I love that movie.
I drove through there once. Rat Race, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button, for me, I hate Rat Race. But apparently I'm alone in that. That's apparently a big cult movie for some reason.
I mean, I thought it was watchable, but I kind of forgot about it. Bully, 2001. Child's Play, 1988.
Bully, that's a hell of a good movie.
Resident Evil Extinction, Lethal Weapon 2.
Lethal Weapon 2.
Super Troopers, Training Day.
Training Day.
That'd be a good title for Super Troopers 3, though. Burn After Reading, Beethoven.
Burn After Reading.
The Parent Trap, The Simpsons movie.
Simpsons.
I've been watching all those on Disney Plus. That's all I do on my spare time. When I'm laying down in bed, I just put on my phone and start at season 1. And because it's probably 20 seasons I haven't seen yet. So,
yeah.
Goodfellas, Mary Poppins.
Goodfellas.
I thought that'd be tougher. A League of Their Own, The Clan of the Cave Bear, 1986.
Oh, yeah.
Daryl Hannah.
Silent Naked Daryl Hannah. Sorry, what was the other movie?
A League of Their Own.
I was thinking of Daryl Hannah naked. I apologize.
Okay.
It's A League of Their Own.
Wonder if that'll end up on Disney Plus. Syriana, The Expendables 2.
You heard what they did with Daryl Hannah's butt in Splash.
Yeah, that's why I was making the joke. Syriana, The Expendables 2.
Syriana.
Pitch Black, Down Periscope.
Pitch Black.
The Girl Next Door, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
I don't know. Flip a coin.
All right. Come on, Girl Next Door. Yes.
Oh, you like the movie. If you had played your case, I might have just gone with that.
I don't like the movie. I just like it better. I mean, I don't know. I don't like the movie, but I watch parts of it. Secret Window, Pearl Harbor.
Secret Window.
Star Wars The Force Awakens, Pay It Forward.
Oh, it's Star Wars all the way.
Scarface, The Terminal. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it's a good one to go out on almost, although we are only at 50 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta flip the coin. I don't care. I hate both those movies.
Scarface wants its first ever flip chart. Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget, because at least it wasn't entirely a dream.
The Expendables While You Were Sleeping.
While You Were Sleeping.
It's good titles for The Expendables 5, though. Let's see here. Cool Runnings, Mission Impossible 3.
Mission Impossible 3? No. Yeah. Wait, no. Which one is that? I can't remember. That's the one with J.J. Abrams. I really like that one. So, yeah, I think that's Mission Impossible 3.
I think 2 is one people don't like.
Yeah, the John Woo.
You Only Live Twice, Election.
Election.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Constantine.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. No, I don't hate Constantine.
I agree. Come on, Internet. You can do this. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, The Expendables 2.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, 2003, or Night at the Opera, 1935.
Night at the Opera. Loved Marx Brothers.
Amelie. That's not a movie. Amelie or Elephant?
Amelie.
Is Elephant any good? I've never seen that one.
It's an interesting idea. I don't know if it necessarily comes off entirely.
That seems to be Gus Van Zant almost all the time. Match Point, Avengers Endgame.
Match Point.
Agreed. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, United 93.
I
feel like you're laughing because
hard choice. United 93 is this incredibly accurate reenactment of 9/11. I'm never going to watch that again. I'll watch Harry Potter again if you ask me, so I'll do that one.
That's fair enough. I was thinking, like, I wish that guy would do the Lynyrd Skynyrd movie, but that's not. I didn't mean that as a joke. I meant it because I'd rather have a real.
A good Lynyrd Skynyrd movie?
Right. Girl Interrupted, Bad Boys.
Girl Interrupted. Great performance by Angelina Jolie in that movie.
Yeah. Rambo 3, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Lock, Stock. It's a good movie.
Agreed. American Gangster, So I Married an Axe-Murderer.
Brutal choices. American Gangster.
I don't think American Gangster is bad. I just think could be better.
Yeah. It's disappointing more than anything.
Here's going to be a coin flip one. Kubrick versus Kubrick. Eyes Wide Shut, A Clockwork Orange.
Wow.
Two movies we need to watch.
I prefer Eyes
show.
Wide Shut.
And I prefer A Clockwork Orange, but I also think I need to watch Eyes Wide Shut again. We haven't watched either one of those movies on the podcast. That's insane. All right. I didn't flip it. Here we go. Tales, A Clockwork Orange. I'm surprised we haven't watched more Kubrick.
Yeah, we got to get to that.
All right. I wish this was against a Kubrick movie. Pootie Tang or Road Trip.
You know what? Pootie Tang's not that bad. I'm going to throw this out there and say if people would give Pootie Tang a chance, it's not as bad as you think it is.
Oh, I don't think it's bad at all.
Pootie Tang.
I love Chris Rock. The Expendables Sleepers.
Sleepers.
Gone Baby Gone, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Gone Baby Gone.
Magnum Force, The Abyss.
Ugh. Flip a coin. Or choose yourself. I don't care.
Oh, I guess I'd lean Magnum Force slightly. I don't really like either one. But I always had a thing for Suzanne Summers when I was a kid. Thor, Ragnarok, Pitch Black.
Ooh, that's tough. Those are two movies I really like a lot. Thor, because it's more watchable.
Agreed. The Princess Bride, Boogie Nights.
Princess Bride.
Really?
I love Princess Bride.
I like it. I like Boogie
I like
Nights.
Boogie Nights a lot, but I mean, it comes down to what I'm watching this afternoon to be The Princess Bride.
So I'm probably not watching either one of them. My wife might maybe watch Princess Bride over it. We really should flip a coin if I'm being honest. A lot of times I just go for it. Princess Bride is the winner. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, The Place Beyond the Pines.
Place Beyond the Pines.
What are we on time? Corpse Bride, The Fugitive.
Corpse Bride. Definitely underrated movie.
Mm-hmm. Clerks 2, Cold Mountain.
Clerks 2. And I love Cold Mountain, though.
Agreed. The Wrestler, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian.
The Wrestler by far.
House of Games, 1987, Annie Hall.
Annie Hall.
Postcards from the Edge, Misery. We're coming up on both of those. Wait, we already watched Postcards from the Edge, didn't we?
I'm not sure, did we? I don't
It
remember.
says 1990, so maybe we haven't. I thought that was the Carrie Fisher movie.
Carrie Fisher wrote it.
Right.
About her relationship with Debbie Reynolds.
Maybe we made that a classic at one point. I don't know. Or maybe it was 80. I don't know. Anyway, Postcards from the Edge, Misery.
Misery.
I agreed. There's something about Mary, Girl Interrupted.
There's something about Mary.
I feel like I'm supposed to say Girl Interrupted more than we do, but I never do. The Sum of All Fears, Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs.
Let the Right One In, Me, Myself, and Irene.
Let the Right One In.
Avengers Endgame, Spellbound, 1945.
Ooh. Gosh. I don't remember Spellbound. I should.
All right, let's refresh. Oh, God damn it. Avengers Endgame, Forrest Gump.
No contest. Avengers Endgame.
As Good as It Gets, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
As good as it gets.
Secret in Their Eyes, Blade.
Blade.
The Point of No Return, The Hills Have Eyes 2, 2007.
I love Point of No Return. I was obsessed with Bridget.
Fonda, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't have quit acting.
Yeah.
That movie was huge. I remember that was constantly rented at our local supermarket when I was a kid. Panic Room, Das Boot.
Das Boot.
I'm never watching that again, so I'm going to go Panic Room. Panic Room it is. Child's Play, Zombieland.
Zombieland.
Rosemary's Baby, Free Willy.
Rosemary's Baby.
Another good sequel title. Superman 2, Rudy.
Rudy.
Fucking hate Rudy, but it's better than Superman 2. The Princess Bride, The Breakup.
The Princess Bride.
Mighty Ducks 2, Bad Boys 2.
Oh, Mighty Ducks 2 all the way.
MacGruber, Dante's Peak.
MacGruber.
It's like they're not even trying anymore. Well, here we go. I spoke too soon. Three Kings, A Beautiful Mind.
Three Kings.
I do agree with that, though. Bicentennial Man, Thor, The Dark World.
Thor, The Dark World.
Tron Legacy, Anastasia, 1997.
Tron Legacy.
Les Samurai, 1967. Do you know that movie at all?
Yeah, that movie's brilliant.
All right. That or Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Les Samurai, actually. As much as I love Terminator 2.
Wow. I have to make that a classic sometime. I've never heard of that as far as I know.
I agree.
Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, Outbreak.
Outbreak. I love Outbreak.
The People versus Larry Flint, Ghost Rider.
Larry Flint.
Deadpool, Mamma Mia.
Deadpool.
The Incredibles, Batman Begins.
Which one is Batman Begins?
That's the first Nolan one.
That one.
Yeah. I'm with you. Wolf of Wall Street, Fargo.
Fargo.
Mad Max, Fury Road, Home Alone.
Mad Max.
Agreed.
But of course, I hate that movie.
Yes. The Invention of Lying, Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
I like The Invention of Lying. Just the idea of him doing the 10 Commandments on 2 pizza boxes. But you win. Diamonds Are Forever, The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Hannibal, Brave Little Tailor, 1938 cartoon. Let's not do
idea.
that. Hannibal, what the fuck? Frosty the Snowman? Come on. Hannibal, Hannibal, 500 Days of Summer.
500 Days of Summer.
Man, Flickchart must be getting annoyed with us. Nothing but cartoons. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Revenge of the Nerds.
Harry Potter.
There Will Be Blood, Spy Game.
There Will Be Blood.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Monster, 2003.
Oh, man. Terminator 2.
Yeah. Superbad, 1408.
Super bad.
Dirty Harry, Scarface.